welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that drives F1's worst cars so you don't have to. Essentially, driving all of the worst cars through the Codemasters F1 games from 2010 all the way to the present day, whenever that may be. And we're in 2012, it's round 6. It is the one, the only, Monaco Grand Prix. And we come into this race off the back of a fairly dismal home Grand Prix in Spain. One of 3, 2 for the team, 1 for me. And yeah, we got to drive through penalty for over-aggressive driving with Kobayashi, which is probably justified, if I'm honest. Pedro de la Rosa lost his front wing and was very, very slow at the back of the field. We were about 5 seconds off the pace of Jenson Button. We finished 2 laps down, but silver linings, we still finished ahead of both Mauritius, both Caterhams and Pedro de la Rosa. So that's summer, even if we were the only cars 2 laps down at the back of the field. But it's kind of what you expect in Spain as a very fast circuit, and we are not a very fast car. Monaco, on the other hand, not a very fast circuit. Does that mean good things for us? Maybe. We've seen plenty this season of the AI crashing, and it's led to quite the mixed up championship standings. You'll see what I mean just here now. Mark Webber leads the way ahead of Lewis Hamilton, Jenson Button, which looks about normal. Mark Webber trying to retrieve the trophy he lost at the end of 2011 on count back to his teammate Vettel, who's behind Alonso in 5th. Grosjean there in 6th, has got a victory under his belt. Webber has 2 victories this season. Button has 1, and Alonso has 1. That's how mixed up it's been in the first few. Raikkonen 7th, only 7th, after having 3 pretty terrible opening rounds and then coming back strong later on. Rosberg is 8th, Maldonado's 9th, a great result for him in Spain. Schumacher's in 10th, and it's Massa down in 11th. He's had a bad season so far. Perez 12th, we're 13th, ahead of Kobayashi, Ricciardo, Verne, Hulkenberg, and De Resta. They're the only other drivers to have scored points this season. Bruno Senna yet to get one on the board, especially considering as where Maldonado is. That's not a good look for the nephew of the late great N. Kovalainen leads the rest of the new teams ahead of Petrov, Glock, Peak, and De La Rosa, who's at the back. And in the races you've probably seen, Carter Kane is listed as 25th. Again, I still don't really remember or know whether he appears if we move teams or whether he appears if we move to seat 1. Obviously, we're not going to move teams this season, so that won't happen. But if we do get De La Rosa's seat, Carter Kane may get shuffled into seat number 2. In the Constructors, we're 8th, but it's Red Bull who lead the way by just 2, ahead of McLaren, who've really closed that gap. Lotus are in 3rd ahead of Ferrari. That's also a tight battle. Mercedes, much like they've been in the last couple of seasons, in kind of their own little bubble, just far enough ahead of Sauber to feel sort of comfortable, but just far enough behind Ferrari. 13 doesn't sound like much, but when you consider the point structure, just far enough behind Ferrari that they're not really in that fight just yet. Williams are 7th. We are 8th behind them, but ahead of Toro Rosso, Force India, Caterham, and Marussia. And yeah, as I said, it's been quite the mixed up season so far this season, and Monaco may prove to also be a fairly mixed up race. We've seen the AI on a number of occasions. Like we saw De La Rosa lose his front wing in the last round, just where everybody concertinaed up, and obviously that's definitely going to happen to Saint Devant all the way through the first lap, I'd assume. And we've also seen accidents between AI cars, not just in season races, but in pre-season as well, where they're just throwing moves, but they won't do that to me, weirdly enough. If you get just slightly off the racing line in the centre of the track, the AI sometimes don't really know what to do and will just sort of wobble behind you and wait for the next opportunity. But Monaco is going to be a tough circuit. Just because there's a lack of pace doesn't mean we're going to all of a sudden find ourselves in amongst everyone. It's not a circuit I'm particularly great at, so practice is going to be vital, much like qualifying is going to be. So let's get to practice, see what we can do in that session, get used to Monaco in the HRT, and as we do, we'll talk about the 2012 Monaco Grand Prix. The grid arrived at the Principality of Monaco for round 6 of the 2012 season after seeing 5 race winners in 5 rounds after Maldonado's heroics in Barcelona. Coming into the round, Schumacher was given a 5-place grid penalty for an avoidable collision with Bruno Senna at that Spanish Grand Prix. There were also minor track changes after Perez's accident the year before, the track being smoothed out in the rundown to the Nouvelle Chicane. Rain greeted the teams during the Thursday running, coming in time for the second practice session. It was Alonso who led the way in the first session, just ahead of Grosjean and Perez, while only Button and Grosjean set representative lap times on dry tyres in the second session. It would be dry for the final practice session though. Rosberg led Massa and Vettel, but the session would see a collision between Maldonado and Perez, the Venezuelan getting a 10-place grid penalty for his part in the incident, which was bumped up by a further 5 places after a gearbox change. The first qualifying session would see a red flag after Perez crashed for the second year in a row, this time at the swimming pool. He was noted as shouting about power steering just before the incident, many speculating that the collision in the final practice session may have caused more damage than suspected. This would mean Perez would be knocked out in Q1 for the first time since the knockout format was introduced, joined by the usual back 6 cars. The big shock of the second session would be Jenson Button, who was unable to set a quick enough time to get through. He was almost joined by both Lotus drivers, but they both managed to set quicker times at the end to get through. Button would end the session 13th, falling behind Hülkenberg and Kobayashi. The final part of qualifying would see all the teams use super soft tyres, Rosberg setting the early pace after the first runs. The second runs would be set on new tyres, with Webber managing to get to the top of the timesheets. It would, however, be Michael Schumacher who would beat Webber out by 0.08 of a second, marking his first pole since his comeback. Celebrations, though, would be tempered by the fact he had that 5-place grid penalty, meaning he'd start 6th, with Webber getting pole. The front row of Webber and Rosberg got away cleanly, but the carnage happened behind them into Saint-Devote. Alonso squeezed between Hamilton and Grosjean, but the Ferrari clipped the Lotus, sending Grosjean into the path of fast-starting Schumacher. The German had no room, so the Lotus jumped over the front wheel of the Mercedes, spinning the Frenchman broadside into turn 1. Everyone tried to avoid the Lotus, some better than others. Vettel clipped the front wing of the still-moving Lotus and escaped unscathed, while Kobayashi attempted to get by on the racing line. The Lotus was, however, still rolling and clipped the Sauber, nearly seeing Kamui land on Button's McLaren. Among the chaos, Maldonado got his braking point wrong into Saint-Devote, driving straight into the back of the HRT of Della Rosa, eliminating both of them. The mess left by all the incidents meant the safety car was brought out to clear it up, though it only lasted for a lap before we went racing again. Everyone held position while Kobayashi prepared to retire his Sauber. There was a threat of rain growing in the air, leading many drivers to hold off pitting in case they needed to move on to the intermediate or wet tyres. Only Perez was making moves down the order, while Raikkonen was really struggling on his tyres. His poor pace meant that a gap was available for Rosberg to pull the trigger on a pit stop and get back out traffic-free. The rain never materialised for the rest of the race, meaning everyone eventually switched to another set of dry tyres, the standard processional Monaco race becoming more evident as the laps ticked by. It'd be Mark Webber who took the win, the 6th different winner in the first 6 rounds, ahead of Rosberg, Alonso and Vettel, the top 4 covered by less than 1.5 seconds. Hamilton would claim 5th ahead of Massa, Di Resta, Hülkenberg, Raikkonen and Senna. For the first time in 2012, our lack of pace isn't going to be quite such an issue around the tight, twisty streets of Monte Carlo, but we really don't excel around here. This should be somewhere we can hope to spring a surprise, but practice has shown, as you've probably seen, that even here we're still way off the pace. I think we can only hope to at least pick off one established car So let's aim for 18th. But fingers crossed that traffic or AI carnage maybe bring us just a couple of spots further up the order.
It's not going to be easy getting into the next qualifying session, but we know you'll give it your all.
In the garage then for the most important qualifying session of the season in Monaco. Practice ended with some damage, ended with me bouncing off walls and drifting about everywhere, but somehow finished in 10th. That might be down to traffic, might not be. I would talk more about how important this qualifying session is, but I think we all know. Right now, I want to get out on track while there's still a little bit of space, see if we can squeeze our way through before it becomes a bit of a traffic paradise.
Sector 2 is showing green, back to racing conditions. Keep an eye out for any debris.
This is our fastest lap of Q1, drifty through Saint-Devote, as you can see already in the bottom of end of the table with just the 10 seconds left on the session. Bouncing our way up the hill into Casino Square, really having to be cautious, just the car felt so light at the rear that every time we got the power, we very nearly sent it round. Nearly 7/10 of a second up in the first sector, just shy of a 10th off getting through as we head into the lowest hairpin. But as you saw, just again, really fighting the car through pretty much every corner around this circuit. Through Portier, actually one of the few that was fairly clean and tidy, ironically enough, as we head through the tunnel down towards the Nouvelle Chicane. Get a little bit of the curb on the outside, which means that we really have to slam on the brakes to get through that without cutting the corner. So as we head into the back, there's this weird little divot on the inside, and we have the tyres protesting as we go through. We're half a second up in the second sector, and nearly 2/10 up on Kimi Räikkönen coming into Raskas. A little wide, clip the wall, that's going to cost us a bit of time. Same through Anthony Nose. We gun it for the line. Is it going to be enough to see us through?
Okay, that's lower than we expected today. 19th place.
Surprise, surprise. Out in Q1. But by about 4/hundredths of a second, actually, from Kimi Räikkönen. It was a bit of a Hail Mary lap at the end of the session. We're joined in the drop zone by Michael Schumacher, of all people. Kamui Kobayashi down there, Hulkenberg, Timo Glock, Charles Pic, and Pedro de la Rosa. That means that both of the Caterhams are into Q2. There they are, 9th and 10th for Caterham. Mark Webber's in 8th in Q1. Paul di Resta and Bruno Senna and Daniel Ricciardo are your top 3. That's what Q1 can do at Monaco. We don't make it through, so we're going to be out-qualified by both Caterhams, I think, for the first time this season. Probably won't be the last, but I couldn't get a clean lap in, kept crashing, knocked a few front wings, and I don't know, just the car seemed really, really slidey. You try to push and the rear was going, and we're just kind of drifting around corners in places. Maybe could have pulled that time in if I hadn't clipped the wall on the way into Anthony Noakes, but yeah, out in Q1 means we've got a lot to do in the race. Hopefully the Caterhams don't pull too far ahead of us, but let's get to the race in Monaco and see what we can do from this low on the grid. Here we are then, in the garage for the Monaco Grand Prix, and P18 on the grid, not too bad. Qualifying punctuated by damage and traffic, which is Monaco, of course, but just weren't fast enough really to get out of the first session. Came close, but not to be. Let's take a look at the grid, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we're hoping for here. Fernando Alonso took pole position ahead of Jenson Button. Championship leader Webber's in 3rd with Vettel 4th. Then there's Hamilton in 5th. Maldonado with a quality session there in 6th. Raikkonen getting back on track with his season in 7th, and Grosjean, Massa as well, getting back on track after a poor start in 9th. Then it's Rosberg, Ricciardo. Fabulous qualifying for the Australian in Toro Rosso in 11th, and it's Di Resta, Verne, Perez, Senna, Petrov getting the Caterham into Q2. Certainly a great setup for Vitaly Petrov. Schumacher's in 17th, really bad day for him. There we are, P18 ahead of Kobayashi and Hulkenberg, who dropped out in Q1, with Glock, Peak, De La Rosa and Kovalainen. And well, listen, it's Monaco. It's simple as that. We've seen in the last couple of years that getting a good start in the first lap, you can make up places. There are, just as everybody kind of concertinas, but then it's about holding it. And in both the last 2 years, we've not managed to do that. We were running P8, I think it was, in 2010. Ended up 23rd. We were running as high as about 6th, I think, in 2011, maybe slightly lower. We ended 12th, but a full lap down on the top 10, and it was only because of a late safety car, that we really kind of kept ourselves in that sort of position. And I've already found in practice and qualifying that there are certain points, if I can get my words out, of this circuit, where the car just goes light and you just spin Saint-Devant up the hill towards Casino Square through to back. Like, there are so many places here where it's so easy to get damage and ruin your race, and penalties in the first lap are going to be tough as well if we try and make a move where there maybe shouldn't be a move. And we got a penalty in Spain, as we saw with Kobayashi, so it can be done quite easily. The team want us to finish 18th. I think the best thing to do is just to aim for holding that position and making sure that we survive Monaco. We've seen the AI across this season so far can be a bit crazy, so they're going to have their own incidents and their own mishaps, and maybe that will grant us some positions, especially with so many people out of place. But listen, I'm prolonging the wait because it's Monaco, same as I've done every season. We've got to get into this. Let's enter the grid for the 2012 Monaco Grand Prix. There's Alonso on pole with Button and the two Red Bulls. There we are, ahead of a Force India. De La Rosa at the back. Mercedes of Schumacher to our right. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, and 5. And away we go in the Principality. Schumacher tries to come across immediately, but he's going to get blocked out here. Got to take it steady into turn 1. He says, as he... illegal overtake, so we have to back off to let Verne through. Got a little bit feisty with Senna there. But at the inside of Ricardo, Massa's been pushed towards the wall. And we'll go for the inside of Nico Rosberg, and we're into P9. Are we going to try and get Grosjean as well? We are. Around the outside at Portier is going to be tough, but we make it. We are P8. Midway through the first lap. We got a bit feisty very quickly, but we navigated it without penalties. And Raikkonen, who's following past Maldonado, but we are inside the points. 10 positions in the first lap. We'll end that first lap P8. Great start.
Looking at the radar, we predict a dry race.
Gently through Saint-Devant on lap 2. Don't want to go straight into the wall. We've got a Lotus behind us now. And the Lotus in front of us is pulling away. It's going to be quite tough to hold Grosjean back, you feel. Especially running wide at Mirabeau. We're okay. Maldonado doesn't seem able to keep up with the top 5 here. In turn, holding up Raikkonen, keeping them really just in front of us. I don't think we've got the overspeed to get past them when we're wide through Nogues. Antonio, should I say. So that will cost us a bit of time.
You'll be able to use DRS when the conditions apply. DRS has been enabled.
Sort of keeping pace with Raikkonen and Maldonado here. DRS this time, though. Not going to draw us any closer to Raikkonen, I don't think, but I'm honest at the moment. Even is surprisingly interested in this pair ahead of us. Unable to get that angle through the Nouvelle chicane. Oh, but there's the spin into back. Get off the wall and just about hold position. Does mean that our rears are going to be quite lit up now, though, so we've got to be very careful through Rascasse. That's frustrating. That's lost us Raikkonen and Maldonado.
Be aware, we think the car behind is trying to save fuel.
Weird, like, bump on the inside of Tabac. Rear's still lit up because we almost lose it in Mirabeau. Somehow keep Grosjean behind us, but that's going to become more and more difficult now. A little think about it into the Nouvelle chicane, but able to just hold the Lotus off. Cautiously now trying to make sure we don't do it again. To get to the pit stop here and with no damage. That would be ideal. If it means driving cautiously for the next few laps, then so be it. He says as he drives straight into the wall. No damage though, so we're okay. Grosjean has a little think about it. And we're able to just block the Lotus off, who then Rosberg goes around the outside and clatters off the wall as he takes 9th off Grosjean. Brave stuff from Rosberg.
Stopping this lap.
Lap 11, we'll be heading in at the end of this one. Still P8, still all 24 runners. Incredibly cautiously at the moment, which means that Raikkonen and Maldonado have scampered up the road at an alarming rate of knots, but we've kept Rosberg at bay.
Raikkonen should be coming in for tyres within the next 4 laps.
We're going a little bit on our way into the final corner. Looks like we're the only ones coming in this lap, which is a bit of a worry. We've got to cater him in as well. I assume that's petrol.
Go.
There's going to be another stop in this race.
The car's got a new set of prime tyres on. You only have to stop once now. 1 stop left.
Get on with it for a lap or two to try and get back ahead of everybody. Get that all wrong into the swimming pool though.
Your front wing's taken some slight damage. Stay out unless it's causing you problems.
One of those moments where the rear just got light and we just hit the scene of the accident basically. It cost us time. Still nobody up ahead to come in.
You've taken a fair bit of damage to your front wing. You might want to come in and get it repaired.
When we do that, in Sandoval. Pushing maybe just a touch too hard. Some of the guys we were fighting are in as well. Can we jump any of them?
There are quite a few cars in the pits right now. Watch out for cars exiting the pits.
Back up to P12. Interesting to see who's still coming in front of us. Anybody? Can we jump any of them? That's the big question now. Managed to jump a couple of them and we're back up into P10. Grosjean and I assume Rosberg managed to get out in front of us. I suspect they may all be going to the end now, That has a little bit of credit to the new watch chicane. Rolling to back, and we look back to see Massa basically pushing us through the swimming pool. Oh, that's going to cost us this race.
You've lost your front wing. If you can nurse the car back to the pits, we'll fit a replacement. Okay, it looks like the car ahead is trying to create a gap. He's running full revs, maximum power.
Lost the rear out the new chicane and it was just straight to the wall.
The tyres have picked up some marbles. Keep to the racing line and wear them off.
In we come, get a new front wing. I think that means no points for us here.
Exit now.
Russia coming in as well, maybe Charles Peak, looks like it might be. Petrov is now the man behind us as we are lapped by Fernando Alonso.
No more scheduled pit stops, so look after your tyres.
We've been put on worn options for the last, what is now, 15 laps for us. Seems like an odd call. No more pit stops. I'm not entirely sure these are going to last at the end.
Okay, we need you to make way for the car behind.
Jensen Button through here. Jensen Button. Nobody else immediately behind us. That's good. That's what this race is going to be, I think, from here on out. I don't think we're going to... I'm not entirely sure the AI are going to pick again, and even if they do, I'm not going to be close enough to catch anybody. Probably would have, where we would have ended up with our second pit stop. Now here seemingly not as fueled by chaos as they have been in previous years. Considering as how we've been the rest of this season so far is unusual. You can see on these tyres at the moment we're quick enough to be keeping up the Jensen Button as Kobayashi's been in. Got out way in front of us. Just drift into the wall at turn 1 next to the DRS.
Some slight damage to the front wing. You should be okay to stay out.
Is Kobayashi out? Because we're down to 23. Doesn't look like it.
Okay, it looks like the car ahead is trying to create a gap. He's running full revs, maximum power.
Maybe he is. Because we're up to P17. Who's out of this race? I think it is Kobayashi. Yeah, because we've got past him. We gained a place thanks to Communico by Ashley's demise. Up to P17. I was talking about how the AI not being fueled by chaos here. We have our first retirement.
You need to let the car behind you
Been
pass.
caught by
He's not racing
an
you
absolute
for position.
clutch of leaders. Back off on the run to the back. Webber, Vettel, Hamilton. Spin all on our own.
Pedro is pitting. He's pitting now.
Rear's pretty ruined. If we take another stop, we're falling behind everybody. Spin at mirror boat on the marbles. There is Pastor Maldonado. It's being followed by Kimi Räikkönen. Let's not forget we were fighting those guys in the early part of this race. He's keeping up with them. And they're going to get lapped by one of them.
Blue flag conditions. Let the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
Here's Kimi Räikkönen. So we can let these guys through, but still got a nice little buffer back to Timo Glock at the moment. I remember a point at the start of this race when we were here in position, not being lapped. Nearly lose the rear through the swimming pool. Big save. Looking pretty ruined. See if we can take him to the end, because pitting now we lose probably a few positions and we're better off than where we started, I guess. And beating our objectives. Wonder if these tyres would last to the end, and they're not going to now. I've got no rear grip.
Your front wing's taken quite a knock. Let us know if you want to come in.
I have to pit in. I got nothing. I can't turn a corner. I'd rather take the straight line approach through there. Can't turn a corner without the rear getting light. We're coming in. It's going to cost us positions, but we have to. It's the only way we get into the end of this one. Front wing as well. There goes Glock, there goes Hulkenberg, Kovalainen.
Go now.
And Petrov as well, just for good measure.
Okay, it looks like the car ahead is trying to create a gap. He's running full revs, maximum power.
And that Jean-Eric Verne pass, so we'll wall ride through Casino Square to let him through.
Good job, back
Shall
up to
peak.
speed now. Blue flag no longer applies.
Nearly lose the rear end through to back. It's that little dip on the inside of the corner. Verne laps Petrov. Can we at least claim back a little bit of pride by getting back past Vitaly Petrov. Helped here actually by backmarker traffic. There's Kovalainen as well.
We need you to pass him.
A block pass into the hairpin, but it works. Thank you, Jean-Eric Verne. Back past both Caterhams. Robust, sure. Sometimes needs must. Whether we'll catch up to Hulkenberg and Glock.
The car behind is on the harder tyre, so he's meant to
remaining
be
time,
slower.
I don't know.
We're going to need you to build a gap if you can.
That'll be that as the car gets light and we spin it through Mirabeau. On to our last lap in Monaco. We're not going to catch Hulkenberg and Glock ahead of us, I don't think, in this lap. Another Monaco where we skyrocketed through the field early doors. Fernando Alonso takes the victory, nearly 2 laps down in the end on the Ferrari. As we lose it again.
Your front wing's taken some slight damage. Stay out unless it's causing you problems.
Ricardo and possibly even De Resta lap us. We've nudged Ricardo.
Okay, we need you to make way for the car behind.
There's a penalty for us.
Looks like the stewards have awarded you a time
20
penalty.
seconds, we're going to finish last. And that kind of demonstrates what this race has been all about. What a terrible way to end in Monaco, much like Brazil last season. Get a warning for corner cutting now as well. Car just undrivable at times here. Go again. I've got literally no control at the end. The tyres fell apart. We're not going to finish 19th. 22 left in the race. I think that might have cost Ricardo. We still get class 19th. Not sure how that's worked. Oh, Kovalainen got 20 seconds as well right at the end. P19 at the end of it. Ricardo was the one that got DNF'd as I thought, and what a terrible last lap that was. Monaco doing Monaco things, much like last year and the year before. A great start and we go flying up the field and then it just all unravels just constantly. The tyres felt like they had absolutely no grip whatsoever. And we end with a 20-second penalty. Fortunately for us, I guess, Kovalainen does as well. Which means we keep hold of our P19, but we could have had so much better. Timo Glock finishes ahead of us in the Marussia. I think that's the second time this season Marussia have beaten us. At the top end of things, Fernando Alonso takes victory ahead of Jenson Button. There's Webber in third, then it's Vettel. Hamilton, Maldonado, Raikkonen, Rosberg, Grosjean and Massa. Let's not forget, at the very start of this one, in the early section, we were ahead of Rosberg, Grosjean and Massa and holding them. We could have had points. Verne takes 11th ahead of De Resta. Ricardo classified in 13th, despite the fact he DNF'd at the end. Perez, Schumacher, Senna, Glock, Hulkenberg, there we are, ahead of Kovalainen, who also gets 20 seconds. Petrov, Peak, Della Rosa, and then Kobayashi didn't finish. What's that doing to the stand-ins? Mark Webber.
You've held on to 7th in the Drivers' Championship.
I haven't, because I'm not 7th. Thanks for that. Mark Webber extends his lead. He's got 22 points now on Jenson Button. Hamilton just 5 behind with Fernando Alonso now for a further 3 back. Vettel down in 5th. His title defence not currently going very well. Then it's the 2 Lotus cars of Grosjean and Raikkonen. Maldonado's in 8th and it's Rosberg, Schumacher Massa Perez. We hold 13th. I think that's what he meant. Kobayashi 14th with a no score. Same with Ricardo. Verne gets a couple of points on the board. Hulkenberg, De Resta, still the last of our point scorers. Senna, Kovalainen, Glock, Petrov, Peak, De La Rosa, Carter Kayan. The no point scorers so far. Red Bull lead the constructors by a single point ahead of McLaren. That's going to be a fun fight to watch. With Ferrari in third, they're a little bit clear of Lotus, who were a little bit clear of Mercedes, who were a little bit clear of Williams and Sauber, and us. There we are, P8 still ahead of Toro Rosso, Force India, Caterham and Marussia yet to get points on the board, and I think that last lap was an accurate demonstration of Monaco in 2012. Much like the last 2 years, race away into kind of points and being able to hold people up, and then it's just mistakes. But tyres in that one just falling apart to a point where every time we'd go around a corner, the rear would go light, and we just spin. Wouldn't matter. We would just spin. I can't imagine Monaco's going to get any easier as the years go on, but at least it's done for another season. On to much less difficult climbs next. The likes of Canada, Valencia, Britain, Germany, Hungary, Belgium. We've got all of those to come in the next few rounds. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Do all the good stuff, you know the drill. By now, we leave the Principality feeling a little deflated, but that's what Monaco does to us. I'll see you all for the next one. Take care. Bye for now.